Hello everyone. In this video, we'll try to create a CRUD application in React JS, and for the backend, we will use .NET Core Web API, and in this Web API, we will use code first approach. So as you can see on your screen, this is a CRUD application. Let me try to create a new employee as Hardik 27 is active. Okay, submit. So employee has been added, and the list has been updated as Hardik 27 1. Let's try to add the same employee, and if I change the age as 29, Hardik 123, and let's make this employee as inactive. So simply uncheck, save changes. You see Hardik 123 29 is active. All the details has been updated. Now let's try to delete. The moment you click on this delete button, it will ask you to, are you sure to delete this employee? If you click on cancel, nothing will happen. If I again click on OK, so it will delete this employee. Let's click on it. So employee has been deleted. See, the Hardik has been deleted from the list also. So in this video, we'll try to create this same application for. So let's continue with the video. So first of all, we need to install some packages. So these are the packages: React Bootstrap, Axios, and Toastify. So let me copy the first one, open a terminal. So all our packages has been installed. If I open package.json, so you see React Bootstrap, Toastify, and Axios. Perfect. Now inside this source folder, add a new file, and I'm giving it a name crud.js. Inside this file, we will write all our CRUD operation. So let's create a basic functional component here. So import React from React, and also we will use state and use effect. So const CRUD, and finally export default CRUD. So our functional component is ready. So here let's use a parameter data. In this variable we will store our API response for all the employees. All right. So use effect, and let's create a dummy data for here. So const employee data is equal to, and here if you see our table, we have ID, name, age is active. So let's use it. It's active 1. Let's copy this object and paste. And let me quickly change the details. And finally ID is 3. Name, let's say Rohit. 34 is active 0. And pass this as here. Let's create a use effect hook. So use effect, and here set data emp data, and pass blank dependency. Perfect. So here let me remove this, and let's use fragment, the inbuilt React.js property, and here we'll use React Bootstrap table. All right. So if you go here, so if you search React table. So you will find this link, and here if you see this one. So let's copy this, import statement from Bootstrap. Sorry, this should be use state, not use effect. And let's copy this one and paste it here. ID, name, age, and is active. And this body we will create dynamically. So let me remove the other two rows. And in this t body, let's use some conditions. So if data and data dot length greater than 0, then data dot map item index, then return. Let's cut this particular row and else loading. Save and change this. So first of all, let's give a key. So key is index, and here we will pass item dot id. Let's copy this. Item dot name, item dot age, item dot is active. So save. Go to app.js. Let's remove this header part and import our CRUD component. Let's save. Now let's add one more TD for the serial number, and let's use this index plus 1 for the serial number. Save. Now let's start the development server by using command npm start. So it will start our development server, and we hopefully see this data on our browser. So as you can see, this complete array is visible over here. Perfect. So our dummy data is working. Now let's try to add one more head for edit and delete actions, and inside here let's use call span 2, and here we will try to use two buttons. All right, so button class name btn primary, add it, and button class name btn danger, and this we will use for delete. Save. Go back to browser. Perfect. Let me remove this. Perfect. So we have added and delete button. Now let's define on click of these two buttons. So here const handle add it, and pass id, alert id, same copy paste for handle delete, Let's use both of them here on click handle added and pass item.id. Copy this on click event from added and use for delete and change the handler as handle delete. So save. Now refresh, and if I click over here, you see we are able to get this ID column on both the handlers. So I'm removing this ID because we will not show the ID to the end user. All right. So we'll use this one, but at the backend we will use our ID for our operations. Now on this added, we will try to open a model pop-up. All right. And for delete, we will try to show a confirmation to the end user. All right. So for the handle delete, let's give a confirmation. So if window.confirm, are you sure to delete this employee? If that is true, then as of now, I am placing this alert here. Save, go back to browser, refresh, and if I click on delete, so are you sure to delete? Cancel. We didn't get the pop-up, but if I click OK, so it is giving the ID. Perfect. So our confirmation is working. Now let's open a model pop-up with this data on added. So for model pop-up, if you search model pop-up bootstrap in React, so you will land to this URL. And if you see this, this is a straightforward code of model pop-up. So let's copy this and use in our component. And let's also copy these handlers, paste, and let me copy this model pop-up, and after this table place it, save, and on handle added, let me comment this and copy this handle show. Perfect. Save. Now go to our component. So if I click on edit, you see our model is coming. Let's modify our model pop-up. Modify employee, and here we will place our form, and here we will use handle update. So let's me copy const handle update, save. Now if I go back to react.js, so I'm going to use row call from React Bootstrap. Okay, so this one, let me copy row call from React Bootstrap. I'll create a small form and copy this inside this fragment. Let's use this. Also this container, save. Don't need this one. So we will use the first as input type text, class name form control, and placeholder. So in the table we have ID, name, age. So this will be for name. So enter name, copy, paste, enter age, and this we will use for checkbox. If you see here, so we have is active. So for this we will use checkbox. So checkbox, and for this class we don't need anything. Let me remove this. Also this one. But for this we will use a label is active, and in the last column we will use a button, class name btn primary, submit, save it, go back to our browser to see, enter name, age is active, submit. So we have a small form. Design is not good, but for the functionality I'm just showing you. You can use your own designing or styling for this. All right, so let's copy this complete row from here and paste in this model body. Save and change this update. Save. So if I again go here and click on edit, so you see name, age is active. We don't need this button over here. Let me remove this because we already have a models update button. This one, save changes. Perfect. Now let's use some state variable. So the first one is for our name. All right. So const name, set name, and use state, copy, paste, and this is for age, set age, and this is for is active, set is active, and initially is active is 0. Let's copy this. This is for add new, and this is for edit. So edit name, set edit name, edit age, set edit age, edit is active, set is active. And we will require one more state for ID. Let me give edit ID as name and set edit ID, use state. So we are done with our state variables. So this is for add new form, and this is for the edit form. All right. Now let's use these to the variables. So if I click here, so the value is name, and for this value is age, and this input type. But for this we will use a condition as we have a property for checked. So if is active equal equal 1, then this will be marked as checked, means true, else false. And let's also give on change event here. So on change set name e dot target dot value. Let's copy this and paste for this age and change the function as set age, and also create a on change event handler for our checkbox. So on change handle added, so simply pass e, and let's give a value as is active. Save. Same thing we need to do for our edit controls. So let me copy these three, or let's copy this entire row, not this row, only three columns, and paste it here, and simply change value and methods. So the value will be edit name instead of name only, and here set edit name, and this will be edit age, set edit age, and for this we will use is edit active and is edit active. Save, and here handle, what is the name, set edit. Save, and here also we will use set is active. Save. Okay, edit is active. Save. So we are done with our event handlers also. Value and on change event handlers. Perfect. Now let's try to create a API. So right click on the project and try to add a folder. I'm giving it name models. Inside this model, let's try to create a class. So I'm using employee example for this video. So employee, and in this employee model, we will try to add some properties. So the first property should be, to create a property, we have a shorthand, just type prop and then hit tab, it will create your property. So the first property is ID and it will be integer type. Second property is, you see, it is already suggesting, so I'm just giving a tab. Again, let's copy this and let me change this as age, and let's copy and make it like as active and put it in integer type. Save. Just put a question mark after the data type so that it will accept null. So let's save. So are done. We are with our employee model. Perfect. Now we need to include some namespaces, or you can say the packages. So right click on the project and click on manage NuGet packages. So from the browse, we need to add some packages. So the first one is, if you see, framework.tools, click on it. So just select the first one, click on install. So it will install this package for us. Click on accept. Let's copy the another one. Yeah, this is installed. Now change the package as .SQL Server. Select and install. Let's copy the another one as Entity Framework Core. Yeah, that is installed. Now .NET Core, install. I accept. And the last one is cores, that we will use when we will try to hit our APIs from React JS project. So install this as well. I accept. Done. So we have installed all required packages. If I go back to installed tab, you see we have 4 packages. Perfect. This is we already have. This is for Swagger. So when we try to run this project, so by default it will open the Swagger page. Through Swagger we can test our APIs. All right. So let's close this. Now again go back to this models folder. Try to add a context class. So for this I'll create class as name employee context. Add, and this will inherit db context. So just press control dot. So we need to include this namespace. So using Microsoft dot entity framework dot core, double click on it. Now create constructor. To create a constructor we have a shortcut. Just type CTOR, hit tab. It will create our constructor. As you can see, both the names are identical. Now we will use db context options, and inside this pass the class name, which is employee context. Let's give a name as options, and it will inherit base options. Now let's create a db set class for employees. As you can see, the IntelliSense is already suggesting, so just press tab. Perfect. So we are done with our employee context class. Now save. Go back to app settings.json. So here we need to pass our connection string, means we need to give a complete path to which server it will communicate and create the database. So I have already created a connection string. So just copy and paste. This is very straightforward code. So connection, that is the default tag. This is the connection string name, and we have server, database, security, multiple active result set, trust server certificate. That's it. I'm using, if I open SQL Server and if I try to connect the database engine, so you see I'm using Windows authentication. So that is the reason I have given integrated security true or trust server certificate. Otherwise, I have to give username and password if you use SQL authentication. All right. Now, next step is go to your tools file menu and NuGet package manager console, package manager console. So here we need to give some commands. The first one is add migration, and give any name. I'm giving initial. Hit enter. So it will start our migration. And if this will be successful, then we'll have another folder in the Solution Explorer called migrations. So let's wait for a moment. So build succeeded. Let's try to open Solution Explorer. Yes, we got the migrations folder. As you can see, we have two files. Let's open this one. And if you notice, we have this override method, and see, this is the script which will create the class with the name employees. So employees will be the name of the table, and in this table we will have some fields with the name ID, name, age, and is active. As you can see, these are the data types: int, varchar, int. All right. Now again, go back to package manager console. Now give command update database, hit enter. So basically this command will create the database in the SQL Server. So once this command will be completed, we'll open, yeah, done. Everything is done. Perfect. Let's open SQL Server and let's refresh this database. Expand this. Go back to your app settings. What is the database name over here? MEMP CRUD DB. Okay. Perfect. You see, this is the database. Expand it. Open the tables. And yeah, we have two tables. One is migrations history, one is employees. Now let's open the new query and select employee grad DB. Let me run the command select star from employees F5. Sorry, I have misspelled the name. Perfect. So we have ID, name, age is active. These are the same properties which we gave in employees class. Perfect. So our migrations worked and we have created our database. Perfect. Now let's try to add a controller. So click on API, API controller empty, click on add, give it a name. So the context is employee. So let's change the name values with the name employee controller. Add. Perfect. So now let's create the constructor of this class. Again, CTOR and hit tab. It will create the constructor. And let's use the DB context class. In our case, that is employee context. So private read only employee context underscore employee context. And again, let's copy this and use as the parameter. So underscore employee context equal employee context. Perfect. So our constructor part is done. So now let's try to create a API for HTTP GET. Public async task action result, and that will be a list. So we will use I enumerable employee, and let's give it a name get employees. If underscore db if underscore employee context dot employees equal null, it means we don't have any employee data in our table, so we will return not found. Else, if this is not the case, then we will return await employee context dot employees dot to list async save. So our get API is ready. That will return all the employees, whatever is there in the employee table. Perfect. Save. Let's try to copy this API and we'll create a API for a particular employee based on a ID. So here we will pass ID and here we will pass int ID and get employee, change the API name. Again, if there is no employee, then we will return not found. If this is not the case, then where employee is equal to employee context dot employees dot find async, and here we need to pass the ID which is shared by the front end. Again, if employee equal null, then we will return not found. Else we will return employee, and here we will use await. Save. And here we need to remove this I enumerable because this API will always return a single employee. Save. So our get API is ready, that this is get and this is get by ID. So now let's try to create another one for post. So HTTP post public async action result, and here we will pass employee post employee, and this will take employee class as parameter. And here underscore employee context dot employees dot add employee, and await underscore employee context dot save changes async, and finally we will return the same employee which we just added. So for this, create at action name of, here we will give the object name get employee, new ID is equal to employee dot ID comma employee, that is capital ID. Perfect. So our post API is also ready. What we did, this employee we will take from the front end, means from React JS, and after getting the details from this object, we will try to add this in the database. And once this is added in the database, we are returning the same object with the ID to the front end. So that is our post API. Now let's try to create the put API. Simply HTTP put, and this will again take ID as get by ID. So pass ID, public async, action result, put employee, and this will take two parameters. First one is ID of the employee, and second one is employee class object. All right. And here we need to pass ID in both the parameters, here also and in this employee class also. Otherwise, it will not work. So if ID is not equal with the employee dot ID, means by any chance if we miss ID either on integer parameter or in the employee object, so we will return bad request. Means ID is required in both the parameters. If this is not the case, then underscore employee context dot entry employee dot state is equal to modified. Employee state dot modified means we are trying to update the state of particular employee. Now let's use try catch. So in the try block, await underscore employee dot save changes, and in the catch block we will use one exception, that is db update concurrence exception. And here if some error exception will occur, then we will throw the same exception. So simply use throw. And after this we will use return no content, all as return simply OK. It will give status code as 200. Save. So we are done with our put API also. So in the put API, we will require two things. One is ID in the parameter. Second one is the complete object of an employee. So this employee will also have the ID and the values which you want to change in the database. All right. So this is our put API. Now let's try to create the last and pending API, which is delete. So http delete. This will also take parameter which is ID, and here public async task action result delete employee int ID. So if underscore employee context dot employees equal null, means there is no record in the database, then we will return not found. And if this is not the case, then where employee equal await underscore employee context dot employees dot find async, and pass the ID which is coming from the parameter. Now if employee equal null, then return not found. Finally, underscore db not db employee context dot employees dot remove and pass employee object. So this will remove the database employees particular record. And finally, await employee context dot save changes and return OK. Save. So let's try to build. Control Shift V. So build started. Let's see if there is any error exception. Hopefully there will be no. Correct. Build succeeded. Now try to run this. Now on the browser we will see the default Swagger page, and from the Swagger we will try to access our APIs. So first we'll try to add a new employee, and then we'll try to get the employee list and update and delete. So as you can see, this is the Swagger URL, and this is our default project URL. Perfect. So we have created 5 APIs: get by ID, post, put, delete. So let's try to add a new employee. So click on this API, try it out, and here we need to give some details. So let me give my name and is active 1, execute. So it is executing the command. Let's see, this will success or fail. So you can see 201, this is the object. Perfect. Now go to your database and hit this command. Perfect. We have got the data. Our post API is working. Perfect. Go back to browser again. Let's add one more employee. So Virat Kohli 30 and is active is 0. Execute. Perfect. Go to SQL Server. So we have 2 employees. All right. Now go to your get API, try it out, execute. So hopefully we'll get an array with 2 objects. Yeah, we got that. So that is one array with 2 objects. One is for ID1, one is for ID2. Perfect. Now let's try to check this get by ID, try it out. Here pass the ID. Let's give 1. So it will give data of Manoj. Perfect. If I change this ID with 2, so that will give Virat data. Done. So that get by ID is also working. Now let's try to check this put API. So let me give ID of 1, and if I change name as Manoj Deshwal developer and change age as 30. If you see, my name is Manoj Deshwal and age is 29 and is active is 1. So let me change this 0 also. So let's click on execute. You see, bad request. Why? The reason is we also need to give the same ID here. All right. So that's the common error. So that's why I intentionally showed you. So now give ID 1. Now execute. You see, we got success. Go to SQL, execute the command again. See, name, age is active, everything has been changed. Perfect. So our put API is also working. Now test the delete. So let's delete the second one. You see, we have 2 employees. So I have given ID 2, execute, 200 success, execute 1. So our API is up and running. And inside this use effect, if you see, we have set data, so we'll try to create a function which will give you a complete response from get API. So const get data. So this API will try to use. So click on try to execute, and here we'll get everything like URL, response, request. So you see, this is our URL. So simply copy, and inside this get data, we'll use this axios dot get API. So we need to use axios. So simply hit enter. So it will add a reference. You see, axios from axios. So axios dot get. So put your URL over here. Dot then result. If result is okay, then we will use our set data method for result dot data. So it will assign our response to our variable, this one, data, where is this one. And in case of any error, we will simply log our error. So console dot log error. Save and copy this, and now call here, save. So you see, we already have a single employee as Manoj. If you see the table, we only have one employee. Let me reconnect the server. So we are getting this one. Now let's try to use the post API. And if I go here, so on the Swagger, let's open our post API, try it out. Let's give name Rohit, age 30, is active 1. Execute. So from the Swagger, we will get our URL body. All right. So this is our URL. So now, so here we'll create a post API. All right. So let's create a event handler for this button. So on click, handle save, const handle save. So here, go to the Swagger. So this is the URL, const URL. Now let's create data. So for the data, let's copy this request, paste, and instead of these static values, let's change the value. So for post, we don't need this ID, and for name, we have name, and for age, we have age variable, and for is active, we have is active. So our data object is ready. Now axios dot post. So the first parameter will take the URL. So we already have the URL. and the second one is data dot then result. If result is successful, then we will call our get data to quickly bind the latest data in the table. And let's create one more method for clean all the fields. So I'm giving it name as clear. So set name blank, set age blank, set is active 0, and let's copy and change for edit fields. So edit name, set edit age, and set edit, and also last one is set edit ID blank. And now after the success in our post, let's clear all the fields. And if I go back to package.json, we have added react.toastify, so we'll show a notification to the end user. So for that, let's use these to import. So toast container toast, and this is the CSS for React Toastify. So first of all, let's use this in our return method. And now here we'll use toast dot success employee has been added. Save. Now go back to browser, refresh. Let's try to add, let's say, Virat 31 is active 0. Oops, we are not able to add it. This is active. So basically here we need to change this to, we need to create a separate handler for this. So handle active change. Let's copy this. Const. We need to pass event object here, and let's pass event here as well, not here. Yeah, event is already there. So now based on this event, we will check if the checkbox is checked or not. So if e dot target dot checked, if this is true, then we will use set is active equal 1, else 0. So save, and same thing we will use for our added. So handle added, and this one let's copy from here, set added is active, save. Let's copy this and go to our model and change from here also, save. Now let's try to add the employee again. Yeah, we are able to check this, submit. You see, employee has been added. Virat 31 1, perfect. So our get is working, post is working. Now try to create for delete. So again, Go back to our Swagger and open our delete. So from delete, so now in the database we have 3. So let's try to delete this Virat by ID 4. Try it out. Give ID 4, execute. Perfect. So this is our request URL. So let's copy this and go here in the handle delete here. So now remove this. So if user click OK, then we will use axios.delete, and inside this we will use a URL, but instead of this static URL like number 4, 4 is the ID, we will use our literal. So simply pass ID here. So axios.delete, if this promise gets fulfilled, then it will return a result. And after this, if we get the result, let's check if result dot status equal 200, which we already got. If I show you the Swagger again, see we got 200 success status. All right, then we will simply show user as, let's copy this toaster from here, and here let's use catch error, and here change it to, in case of any error we will simply show error to the end user. So let's copy this success from here, paste, employee has been deleted, and for the error and exception simply use this one. Save. Line number 73, I, okay, not I, this is ID. Save. Go back to browser, refresh. Let's add any test employee. Test employee is 25, is active. Yes, submit. So employee has been added. Now let's try to delete. Delete. If I cancel, nothing is happening. Perfect. If I click on delete, okay, employee has been delete. Let me change the message as deleted. Okay, and after this we will use our get data to refresh the list. Save, refresh again. So let's try to delete this Rohit. Okay, perfect. Employee has been deleted and list is also updated. Perfect. So our delete is also working. Now let's try to work on this edit part. Now if you see here on your list, inside this table we have given a model based on this edit. All right, so on this edit we are getting the ID of a particular employee from the particular row. All right, so let's open this handle edit. So here we will try to get the ID as, if I open Swagger again, so for this we will use this API get by ID. If I again try it out, so as of now we only have a single employee, so let's pass ID as 1, execute. So see, we are getting this data. So this is our URL. So go back to Visual Studio Code and remove this. So here we will use, first we will open the model pop-up, and then we will use axios dot, let me use the charger first, sorry. So axios dot get, and now pass the URL, Same, the URL will be like this, and let me copy this one, but here we need to change some properties. So first, if the result is okay, means we are getting data from the API, so we will use set edit name, and inside this we are getting name as result dot data dot name. Save. Let's copy. Second one is edit age, and here we will give age, and third one is set edit is active, and here will getting data is active, and also we need to use this ID, because in the edit part, means for the edit we will use API as put. In the put API we will use ID. So here simply pass this ID. So we are done. Save. Let's try to test it. So if I click on edit, see my details are coming over here, and let's add one more employee. Let's say Virat. 25 is active. Okay, submit. You see, now if I add it, so Virat 25 is active. You see, is active one means we are setting the checked property as true. And if I try to get my data, which is Manoj Deshwal, for this checkbox is not working, means it is not checked because the value is 0. Perfect. So our edit is also working. Now we'll try to use our put API. So if I go back to Swagger again and let's open our put API, this one. So try it out. So let's try to update this record with the ID 6. So pass ID 6 and also here 6, and name, let's say change Virat Kohli, age 30, let's say 32, is active 1. Execute. You see we got success. So this is our request URL. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and go to handle update. Here, first of all, const URL is equal to this one, and instead of this 6 we will use our edit ID. We already have, not this, we need to use backticks. So now we will use edit ID. Save. So our URL is ready. Now we need to create the data object. So const data. Let's go to our post API. This one, let's copy this and copy this entire thing and handle update. Change here. So now instead of this name, we will use edit name and edit age. Edit is active, and instead of this post, change it axios dot put. So we will use our URL and data. So get data employee has been updated. Save. Perfect. Yeah, go to browser, refresh. Let's say if I added this Manoj Deshwal, let me remove this developer and change as 31 is active one. Save changes. Let's open developer tools. Something is wrong. Okay. The reason is if I go back to here, I need to pass ID also in the object. So that is the reason I intentionally made this mistake because this is the common mistake. All right. So simply change this added ID. Save. Go back to browser again. Refresh. And now try to edit this. Remove this developer. And that's it. 23 and is active. Okay. Save changes. Employee has been added. And you see list also updated, but the model popper is there. We need to hide that. So handle update in the success call. Let's use handle close. Save. Let's refresh. Let's open it again. So Manoj Deshwal. Let's say if I use Manoj 123 31. Save. Manoj 123 31. Perfect. So you see our get by id, delete, post, put, everything is working. So this is how you can achieve your CRUD operation in React JS using .NET Core Web API with code first approach. So I hope you liked this video. If you did so, hit the like button, share, comment, and kindly subscribe my channel and also follow me on Instagram. If you are facing any kind of technical problems, you can connect with me on my Instagram. My Instagram handle is open programmer. You can also find my other contact details on my channel description. So again, if you are working on your final year project or if you are doing an internship and you have been assigned a project, in that you are facing any kind of technical problem, so you can contact me. We can work together and resolve your issues. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.